name is Andre Smith. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I graduated Pine Forest High School in 2005, where I then attended the great Bethune-Cookman University from 2005 to 2009. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in pre-law, and attended Thomas M. Cooley Law School, where I graduated with my Juris Doctor degree. And I'm currently a member of the Georgia Bar and an attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, working for my own firm, the law firm of Andre J. Smith. I knew I wanted to be an attorney. My aunt, who unfortunately passed away in 1994, before she did, told me that I talk a lot and that I would be an attorney. I took that and ran away with it after she passed away. And so on my journey, there was a lot I had to overcome. Early on, we lived with my grandmother, my mother, my brother, me, before my sister was born in Lincoln Park. So out of my first neighborhood, I was born and raised at Lincoln Park, Pensacola, Florida, on the north side, uptown is what they call it. Back in the day, this neighborhood was wild too. It wasn't as wild as Marino Court and Aries, but it was still wild. I went to Lincoln Park Elementary in the beginning until we moved and went to Marino Court. My grandmother, both of my grandmothers live out here and stay next door to each other. So I had it kind of made during the holidays. But this is where it all started for me. My mom lived with my grandmother, me and my brother at the time, then my sister was born. Once my sister was born, that's when we moved out to Marino Court. But Lincoln Park has always been home and always been the first love for me because it introduced us to a great game, which is basketball. Everybody played basketball out here on Sundays, packed out, big crowds, just crazy out here waiting your turn to play ball. And so Lincoln Park was just, it's just a great neighborhood and a great staple in my heart because it taught me a lot of values, especially with sports. And not only that, you know, both of my grandmothers live out here, and so again, you know, for me, this is home right here. When you say Lincoln Park is home for me. So, and then we, once my sister was born, we moved to Marino Court. Now we out here in my second neighborhood that I grew up in, Marino Court, out here in Warrenton. In the 90s, Marino Court was probably one of the worst neighborhoods, if not the worst neighborhood in Pensacola. Definitely top 3, top 5. We stayed at 185 in the front, but this is our first apartment right here at 185 Marino Court. Still look the same, nothing different. So I first learned how to ride a bike at right here. Ran into those bushes right there. Those bushes got thorns on them at the end, so if you run into them, you're gonna get cut all up. That's why I learned how to ride a bike. I didn't know how to put on brakes, but I knew how to pedal. I was about 11 years old. The police was always at the front, meaning when you came in, you had to address the police to even come in here. If you didn't know anybody, they turned you around. And if not, you either went to jail or got shot. When we first moved out here, there was a shootout out here that occurred that was really bad, but shots was fired all the time. Drugs was everywhere. It was trash everywhere, fighting, you know, everybody just wild, it was crazy. Stayed at 185 for a few years, and then we moved to 155. Yeah, so this is the second apartment we moved to. 155, still the same. Now this is the area right here where we used to play a game called Throw 'em Up, Bust 'em Up, football. All this area right here was us to play football in. From that tree on back down here. So probably about 15, 20 of us would line up on a Sunday and come out here and play football. I think it was pretty cool that instead of drugs, we chose a sport like football or basketball or baseball to come out here and play. Otherwise, it was gonna be, you know, bagging up drugs and selling them best way we knew how. And after 155, we finally got a 3-bedroom. Coming up on our last apartment we stayed in. And this is it right here. Got the handicap rail on here, although nobody was handicapped. It's the only one they really had, so we had to take it. But it was kind of too late then because my mom had already applied for a home and got it. But we stayed in the back in Marino Court. But this was a very, very tough neighborhood to overcome. More so the drugs, the fighting, the prostitution, and things of that nature. It was very hard in this neighborhood. So again, you know, I grew up right here in the heart of Pensacola, in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods there was back in the 90s, which was when I was growing up. And again, it's just a testament that, you know, no matter what you go through and what you need to overcome, you know, you can overcome it and be whatever or whoever you want to be. In about 97, 98, we moved to Aries Boulevard, which is catty corner to a street called Diego Circle, which is right across from a neighborhood called Montclair. It was a very, very, very rough neighborhood where you had to make very tough decisions in very hostile environments. You had to fight your way through a lot of struggles, a lot of pain, a lot of problems. And you also had to overcome some things that a lot of other people may not have seen. For example, that was the first time I had ever seen crack cocaine. First time I had ever seen heroin being used. First time I had ever seen all these other things, that phenomenons in this neighborhood that I had never seen before. This is a neighborhood that I grew up in on probably the second half of my life. Moved out here the summer of my 6th grade year, 97, 98, somewhere around there. Very, very hard neighborhood, stealing a lot of everything that you see, drugs, police activity all the time. That's just some of the few things that we had to overcome in this neighborhood. Living on the last street, had to walk 6 streets up just to get to the bus stop. And it was only one way in, one way out. So everything you saw, you had to see it. You had no choice but to see it. And in seeing that, it makes you want to not be a part of that anymore. It makes you want to work hard to get away from that. And so my focus was to get out of the hood and make something better of myself. Of course, there were numerous deaths. There were numerous people who went to prison, who went to jail. And I avoided that in my upbringing. After which, you know, I went to Pine Forest and went 4 years there, and I graduated. But before then, there was an incident that occurred November 2004. We had a big fight, and you know, everybody got out clear, but I got cuffed and got taken downtown. I did not go to jail. The officer was very nice and did not take me, but he brought me home. And I knew then it was time to change my life around. In 1989, I believe, my mom and dad divorced, and my mom became a single parent. I did not grow up with my father. I grew up with my mother and my siblings. And it was tough being in a single parent home. My mother worked day and night trying to put food on the table and pay the bills for us. There were some nights where my grandmother would spend the night, or days she would spend the day to help clean up and to help watch us because my mother had to work. Oftentimes, inspection would come around in the apartments, and my grandmother would come out and help clean everything up, and she played a very integral part of our lives as well as my mom's life up and through her passing in 2011. My mom overcame so much in her early time, and also a little bit later on. Specifically when I was in high school, there was a point where I had to grow up real quick. I thought my mom was gonna pass away. You know, in 2003, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And, you know, I was in high school, and I thought I was gonna lose my mama at that point. And so me and my sister had to come together really quick with my grandmother, try to get all the affairs together because we didn't know what was gonna happen next. And we went through it with every step of the way, through chemotherapy, through surgery. It's one of the biggest hurdles we had to overcome out here because we didn't know what the next step was, if our mom was gonna be living or not. Thank God that he brought her through and she was able to continue on the work and help taking care of us. But it was hard. It was hard because I was too young to work, my sister was too young to work, and she was the only one working in the house. Of course, when I got of age, I started working and maintained a job and started buying things on my own for myself. But I think that the strength of my mother is huge because it takes a lot for a woman to raise 3 kids in the environments and the circumstances and the predicaments we were in, and to make it out of that, it's almost as if it's a miracle from above. So again, I think that it's very, very important to highlight the parts that my grandmother played, not only my grandmother, but my mother as well, in advancing me throughout my early life and in my career. Now, I've always wanted to be a lawyer ever since 3rd grade. In the 3rd grade, the O.J. Simpson trial was going on and Johnny Cochran was a lawyer. Obviously, O.J. Simpson was the defendant on trial for the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. He was found not guilty, and at that time, it was a very big racial split in America. It was a divide where one side was rooting for O.J. and the other side was rooting against O.J. Johnny Cochran was a mastermind on TV, and I saw him every day, and I wanted to be just like him. Coupled with the fact that my aunt, who deemed me to be a lawyer before I even ever thought about it, said that you were going to be one and you're going to be a great one, and I just took the reins and went with it. Now, I did go to undergrad at the great Bethune-Cookman University. I graduated from there. I got into law school and took a year off. Took a year off and I went to law school. Went to law school, no problem. I graduated in 2013. However, I still had to overcome one of the biggest obstacles that I had ever faced in my entire life, which was passing the bar exam. The bar exam is a test that most, if not all, law students take once they graduate to become a licensed member of the state. I took the bar in 2013 and I went in there with my head up, didn't really study, didn't really know a lot, and I recused myself from it because I knew I would not have passed. So I saved up the money and I paid for a bar prep course and took it in February of 2014. I failed the bar exam in February 2014. I took the bar exam again in the summer of 2014, which would make it July, and I failed it again. 2015, I took it in February, and I failed it again. July 2015, I took the bar, I failed it again. At that point, I had given up. I didn't want to do anything else. I was working for Waffle House, making $2.17 an hour plus tips. With 2 degrees, it was very discouraging. It's very heartbreaking. It was a tough task for me to overcome, and I thought I could not do it. So I quit. I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to go through it anymore. December 2015 came, and I had to pay my rent, or else I was going to get evicted. I got the money and I paid it. In January, I paid for 1 more month, and in February, I had to move out. I had signed up for the bar exam for February 2016, and I studied as much as I could, but at that point, I became homeless. In February of 2016, I had no place to stay, no place to go. I was sleeping inside my car, washing up at the QT gas station right down the street from my old apartment. I was sleeping behind a building where I would lay my back car seat down and put the covers over me every night and study out of Starbucks or Waffle House until it was time to go to bed. Once I did that, I knew then that I had to do everything I could to try to pass this test, got a predicament I was in. February 2016 was upon me, and the end of it was just when you take the bar exam. I walked in knowing that I had not studied as much as I needed to, and knowing what had happened the previous 4 times before that. I took the test and I walked out with the same notion that I did not pass. The month of February went by and March went by. Still didn't have a place to stay. And my cousin, who to this day is like an angel from above, offered me a place to stay at her apartment. At first I didn't want to because I've always had my own. I stayed with her then, off and on, to get myself together. The month of April goes by and May comes. May is the bar results. The bar results came and I got a phone call from up in Gainesville. It was my colleague and Tari Thomas. And Tari said, well, Andre, what's your middle name? And I told her, and I thought she was saying I was maybe on the criminal docket or something, but Tari said, Andre, you passed. At that time, I was at work at Waffle House, had food all over me, was tired, was cranky. I didn't believe her. So I went and checked online, knowing I had been through this 4 times before. I went and checked online and said, congratulations, you passed. I dropped to my knees and cried. First person I called was my mom. Second person I called was my old boss, Mr. Raymond Lell. And it was a rejoiceful moment. Then after, I was still homeless. I got sworn in, started practicing law, hustling, working hard, doing my thing. I opened my own firm in September of 2016. And from then on, I stayed forward and I worked for myself. Now, fast forward a year later, I have my website launch party on July 22nd of 2017, which will be the stamp of approval and solidify my law firm as the law firm I always wanted to be. And I'm just so happy and so proud that the things that I've been through have allowed me to overcome and come this far. This is a personal message for adolescents, for young adults, for elderly adults, or anybody for that matter. Your dreams are valid and are important, not only to you, but to our society. I'm a living witness, a living testimony that no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, you're only coming upon things that have already been met by other men, whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol, whether it be bad neighborhood, whether it be overcoming bad grades in school, whether it be overcoming tests, or anything that might be obstacles in your life that you're dealing with. The test of time is near. Hold your faith, go through the fire, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm a living testimony, a living witness that no matter the circumstances, and no matter the problems or the obstacles in front of you, life is only a test. It's only a small series of tests. And again, once you pass those tests, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So again, I say before you, go through the fire, go through the storm, because there's always sunshine or light at the end of the tunnel. I'm a practicing attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. My areas of specialty in practice are criminal defense, personal injury, and contracts. My firm's motto is hire me and I'll fight for you. Oftentimes, the legal process can be very hard and very daunting, and they can be a very scary thing for people who never been to court or have never been through anything as far as legal matters are concerned. You can count on me, if you hire me, to fight for you, whether it be a speeding ticket or high-end felony, whether it be your loss for your injury that you need to be highly compensated for, or whether it be a contractual matter where you've had a breach or you've had something that come up that may need to be reconstructed. I am here to fight for you. You can reach me anytime at 770-615-8853. My email address is Andre, A-N-D-R-E, @ajsmithlawfirm.com. Remember, hire me and I'll fight for you.